The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? Scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Friday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a brand new or slightly used automobile, you owe it to yourself. Hell, you owe it to your wallet to check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. All right, we got a really interesting show because we have right now 5 high school football coaches lined up, possibly a 6th, maybe a 7th by the time we get done with this program, to talk about the move that was made yesterday by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. They expanded the high school football playoffs from 8 to 16 teams in each region. Now, certainly a lot of folks have said, hey, this is just a money grab for the OHSAA. And while that could very well possibly be true, I thought we would start the show before we took a time out and started bringing in our guests. And by the way, the guests will include Sean Guerrero from Springfield in about 13 minutes, TJ Parker from Fitch at 12:30. Matt Aldemore, the head coach at Lisbon, will be checking in at 1 o'clock. Mike Pavlansky from Canfield will be checking in at 2. Tom Pavlansky, the new head coach at Poland, will check in at 2:15. We also have feelers out to Paul Julia, who's coaching at Leetonia. We heard from Paul Cusick yesterday, the head football coach at Crestview, upon the announcement that was made originally. And we have also reached out to Dan Yeagley, the head football coach at South Range. Now, before we get into the interviews, I think that it's important for everyone to understand where all of this started. The OHSAA began their football playoffs in 1972. This will be about 50 years this year. This will be the 50th year that the OHSAA has played a playoff. Prior to 1972, football teams were given state championships courtesy of the United Press International, who's no longer in business, or the Associated Press. In other words, sportscasters, sports writers, they did the voting, which, look, I'm in the field. I love my field, but we're not the end-all, be-all. The end-all, be-all, or the be-all, end-all is the football field. Hence the reason why the OHSAA decided, hey, let's do this. Now, back in the 70s, 1972 to 1979, there were 3 leagues. It was not Division I, II, III, etc. It was AAA, AA, and Class A. And from 72 to 79, the top team in each region got to the playoffs. So you did not have regional tournaments. You simply went into the state semifinals and then the state finals. That was from 1972 to 1979. 1 team per region, the top team in the region. From 1980 to 1993, the OHSAA expanded the playoffs because they moved from AAA, AAA to Division I being the top boys. 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 divisions in the state for 14 football seasons. In those 14 football seasons, you had the top 2 teams from each region going into the playoffs. So you would have a regional championship, then the state semifinals, then the state finals. 13 games played. From 1994 to 1998, well, they added a 6th division. And because they added a sixth division, they decided, well, let's just do the top 4 teams. So you would have a regional semifinal, a regional final, a state semifinal, and a state championship game. Now we're up to 14 games played during a football season. This was from 1994 to 1998. In 1999, they went to 8 teams, but they stayed with 6 divisions. So you had a regional quarterfinal, semifinal, regional championship, state semifinal, state championship game, 5 playoff games to go along with your 10 regular season games. You're at 15 games total if you're in the state championship game, win or lose. That was from 1999, and it continued through 2012. In 2013, the 7th division was made. And from 2013 through 2019, the top 8 teams in each of the 7 divisions, that encompasses 28 regions, that encompasses, do the math real quick, 224 teams going into postseason, playing, if you get to the championship game, 15 games. Last year was the pandemic, and I thought under the circumstances, it was perfectly done. 6-game regular season. Everyone was invited into the playoffs. If you chose not to go into the playoffs, or if you were bounced from the playoffs, you played up until week 10. You played your 10th game, and then that was it. If you got to the playoffs and were able to play 4 rounds before you got eliminated, that was it, because you had your 6 regular season games. Everyone got to play 10 games minimum. This year, they're expanding it to 16 teams. Now, there are advantages, there are disadvantages, and then there are a couple of things that, frankly, and we're going to get to it throughout the course of the day, part of me loves this, part of me is borderline outraged. The borderline outrage comes from this. You're now talking about a high school kid, not a fully grown man, a boy, a teenager, not a fully developed man yet. You are talking about, if you get to the state finals, 16 games. The NFL, up until this year, was playing 16 games. But those are grown-ass men. Those are grown men playing 16 games. They're not young kids, young boys who are not fully developed yet. In major college football, you play 12 games. If you're not in the playoffs, you play a 13th game if you're good enough, and that's a bowl game. 3 less games than what is going to happen in 2020. In 2021. If you're good enough to get into the playoffs, and we're talking FBS here, 12 games, 2 playoff games. That's still, even if you get to the championship game, that is still 2 games less than what we're talking about here in 2021 in the state of Ohio. This part of it, I'm not too happy with. Because, again, there is a big difference between having grown men play this game, 16, 17 games, and having kids that are not fully grown yet and not fully developed yet. And you're going to have these kids play more games than every FBS program. Drop the F. That's BS. So we will talk with Sean Guerrero from Springfield coming up momentarily. We will talk with TJ Parker from Austintown Fitch at the bottom of the hour. Matt Aldemore from Lisbon will be chiming in on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline at 1 o'clock. Mike Pavlansky from Canfield will be checking in at 2. And if he screws up, well, then I'm just going to go to Tom Pavlansky, and he'll correct Mike because, well, I mean, that's what's going to happen to the Pavlansky household now that these two guys are coaching arch rival teams. Tom Pavlansky will be calling in at $2.15. Look, there's no question. The OHSAA looked at this, and there's no question. There's dollar signs. There are dollar signs here. There's no question about that. There are dollar signs. The OHSAA will receive the gate fee for tickets to all postseason games, raising the number of teams from 448 to 224, or 224 to 448. You've essentially doubled the amount of teams going into the postseason, doubled the amount of games. Yeah, there's money. There's money to be had. A lot of money to be had. For teams like Springfield, who came so close to winning a state championship. There's an extra round of playoffs here, kids. The job just got a whole lot more difficult. And kudos to anyone that can finish 16-0. But having said that, I go back to the original argument that I'm making. In what world is it okay for not fully developed young kids, not grown men, teenage boys, in what world is it okay for these teenage boys to play 16 very physical games when FBS, you're playing 14 max? Sorry, I can't get. I mean, I understand the move. I understand the move from a financial standpoint. I understand the move from the fact that now you've gotten rid of the buys. I get that as well. I mean, nobody wanted to have a bye. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, coaches don't want to have a bye. I mean, if they were going to go to 12 teams, top 4 seeds, you have to take week 11 off because, well, under the circumstances, you can't. Everyone can't play because then you don't get the number 8. You have the top 4 teams getting a bye. So if you're the top seed, second seed, third seed, and fourth seed, you're not playing in week number 11. And let's be honest, 99 times out of 100, you come out stale the next game. And that's not good. Should they have kept it at 8? Yeah. Could they have lowered the season total and invited everyone into the playoffs? And I still think that could be on the table in the near future. And that's a possibility, although right now it doesn't look like a possibility. We will check in with a number of coaches coming up in just a bit, and I'll be curious to get everyone's opinion on this. The first one will be the coach of arguably the best team in the area, Sean Guerrero from Springfield. He's coming up next. Stick around. It's a Friday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Your first and last stop with your tax return should be with me, Tracy Bryden at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. No other dealer goes the extra mile to bring you the largest selection of vehicles at one convenient location. With guaranteed credit approval, I will find you the right vehicle and the right financing options for you. I am ready to go the extra mile to show you why no other dealer sells more cars, finances more, and gets you more for your refund than Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We're talking about the OHSAA's expanded playoff announcement, and to kick things off in terms of the coach's point of view, we bring in the head football coach of arguably the best team in this area, Sean Guerrero with the Springfield Tigers. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, let me ask you point blank, and I made this comment. The biggest reason why I don't like this decision is the fact that you're now going to be asking not fully developed young men to play 16 games, and in retrospective, you're asking the 19 to 21, 22-year-old men who are a little more developed than the high school kids in FBS football to play only 14 games. From that perspective, I'm not a fan of this.
Looking at that, I definitely think it would end up hurting the smaller schools. You mean like a school like Springfield? I know for us, going through the season, I think if you told the kids we were going to play 20 games, I think they'd be in for it. But for us, I think with the run that we had, I think our boys that played football and then went into basketball, I think they got like 3 days off with our basketball coach, and then they played like the next 5 days. They had a game. I just think with that, it's hard on our kids going from season to season. In smaller schools, for myself, we need every athlete to go out. We need to share athletes. I just think it puts a lot of the wear and tear on those kids that want to have the experience of playing 2 to 3 sports.
It certainly, on the surface, seems like a money grab for the OHSAA. I mean, let's be honest. You're raising the amount of teams in the postseason from 224 to 448. You're adding an extra round. You're essentially bringing in a ton more money when you consider there are 7 divisions, four regions per division. That's an extra 28 regions that you're talking about. There's a lot of money to be had there.
Oh, I totally agree with that. In being through the experience that we had with making the runs into the playoffs, it's all about money. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I know I'm a little bit involved in our Coaches Association, Ohio High School Coaches Association. I think they put a lot of time and effort into trying to develop, the 12 game or the 12 team, playoffs, which we were going to go to in research. And now all of a sudden the OHSAA just, hey, let's go to 16 teams. I like how they ended up putting it where it said it's going to benefit or it would be great for communities. And I think that was great for last year when teams only got to experience 6 games when they shortened the season. But now when you go to a 10-game season and you're looking for, team 16 to play team 1, I've been on the end of the stick where we've gotten, 2-8, 3-6,
sure.
3-7, 6-4. I don't know if I would want to go play week 11, a team that's been killing people and blowing out. I don't know. I can't see the benefit of that for a team 16 to go play a team 1 and travel and have to do that stuff in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
There are some. Go ahead.
Sean, I was going to say there were a lot of Mercy Roll games in 2019, and even when they invited 8 teams into the region since 1999, there have been a lot of blowouts in 1 versus 8 and 2 versus 7. Now there have been some competitive games, but there have been an awful lot of blowouts. Now 1 versus 16, even 2-15, 3-14, you're going to have. At least in theory, you're going to have way more blowouts in this first round than anything that we've ever seen.
I totally agree with you, and like you said too, I think there will be some good games, but I think it'll be that whatever it is, the 8-9 matchup and things of that nature. But like you said, those top couple teams, it was bad, and it's whether you get a bye, which I've had to deal with. Last year with the bye. Sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. If you're banged up late in the season, it could be great for you. Kind of a week to let your kids rest a little bit, get healthy. But I know 2 years ago we went on our playoff run. I wanted to continue to play because I felt we were getting better. I think we were kind of hitting our peak and we were getting things rolling at that point. Our kids were feeling good. So I can kind of see it, but it can kind of go, both ways with that, whether it's the buy or not buy or whatever. So I just feel like the OHSAA is making decisions solely off money. They're not accounting high schools. They're not accounting the kids, and we're just putting these, putting the kids through ringers just to make somebody else, a dollar. And even for what they're doing, like last year, we did not receive anything back. High schools, and I know including ours, football is our main source of, our main source of income for our other sports. We got drilled, and then they took all the money for who, where's it go, what happens. We did not see any penny of that last year. And they're saying they're down money and this, and they need it for other things. But for those guys to get their paychecks and say that they're trying to be in the best benefit or the best, effort for high school kids, that's a lie.
Sean, is there a perfect solution to this? Look, I look at 12 and then I'm in the column of this isn't fair for the top 4 seeds because, and I'll use your team as an example in 2019 when you guys didn't need a bye. And more often than not, I'm going to guess you're not going to need a bye. Who wants a bye? Especially if you're on an unbelievable roll, you take a week off, you might wind up being stale and flat as a pancake, and that's when you could get a serious upset. So I'm not so sure that that's a perfect scenario. What in your mind is the perfect scenario for the OHSAA? Should they have left it at 8 teams? Should they have a 7-game, 8-game regular season and invite everyone to the playoffs? And if you're bounced in the first round, you can play one more game to get to your 10-game threshold?
I think one thing that happened with our coaches association is, again, I think I said this, when we looked at that 12 game, they did a study on who would make it, who wouldn't make it. They do have that information. I don't know if there is an answer, because if you go with 8 teams, 3 years ago we were 9-1 and we did not make it. I thought we had a pretty good team. That could we have made some noise, or could we have won some games? I do, and our kids did not they were not able to make that push. But I do know it motivated our younger kids, because the run that we went on, it made a boost. Our attendance was a little bit better in the weight room in the off season. I think effort was a little bit, it motivates. So I don't know if there's an answer that you can go through. I think you got to do the data and see, who makes it, or, on those teams that are on the bubble. It's football though. I don't think it was, Ohio football is not, hey, everybody makes it. You had to earn your way, and it's always been like that. And I think for that kind of characteristic of it, teams schedule up during the season, which makes it more competitive. I think if you're doing 16 teams aren't going to schedule up. Teams are going to schedule down. And they'll, it just kind of weakens the regular season, I think. And it's an earned spot. You win games and you try during the season to earn that spot in the playoffs. You schedule up, and I think there was one thing that was maybe different than basketball and baseball and other sports is it's an earned position, and I think our kids know that. It's not something that everybody gets a trophy. And I think it makes it a little bit more special where kids have to earn that, you know what I mean, and make a push during that regular season.
Yeah, the good news is if you get besieged with injuries and your team was supposed to be good, and I'm not trying to put any hex on you or anybody that's supposed to be good this year, Coach, but you know where I'm going to go with this. I mean, if you get a rash of injuries and your team is not very good record-wise, but then everyone starts getting healthy toward the end of the year and you finish in the top 16, okay, you're good to go. Now, that is a very small chance of that happening, but the flip side of it is for teams that have a rash of injuries that were expected to be really, really good, it might be their opportunity to get into the playoffs, and then let's see what you can do with a healthy team.
Correct. Now, I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer for that. Not dealing with it, I know. I mean, two years ago, we had a couple injuries throughout the season, and that's the process where you try to build up depth and play a lot of kids and get them involved. So you kind of have that next man up mentality. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if there is a correct answer for this. I just know for a kid that's, if you're in the bottom of the 15, 16 teams, to go play a team that's ranked in the top 4, at least in our region, that to me is a very good region. I don't think it's going to be a very competitive game, and I think that will happen more in the smaller schools than it would be in Division I or Division II.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
That experience is not going to be a good experience. So if you go, like I said, 3-7, 4-6, and you're like, we really don't have a good team. Well, hey, why don't you on your last game or your senior's last game go play? Name comes to mind. If we had to play Kirtland, and we're 3-7. What kind of fun is that? For a kid to experience that, I just don't see the benefit of it in the long run.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and it's a great way to end the interview. And I will say this on the positive note of this, you guys can become the first team in the history of Ohio high school football to go 16-0 and win a state championship.
Well, that sounds like a game plan for us. Our kids have been working hard. And they do a great job in the off season, and we try to get them to play basketball and baseball and track, and we got a lot of kids involved. So I think just the atmosphere here at Springfield is a positive one. We just got to keep the eye on the prize and keep them working.
Well, I don't want to wish summer away because you know how much I love summer, but you know how much I love football too. So keep them hungry, and let's hope the third time is a charm if you get an opportunity at that third apple.
Hey, I appreciate that. Hopefully the Tigers will be there.
All right, brother. Always a pleasure.
Have a good one, Ron.
All right, you as well. Sean Guerrero, head football coach of the Springfield Tigers. Oh, he's not the only one that has an opinion on this, believe me. TJ Parker from Austintown Fitch, he'll chime in with an opinion as well coming up in a bit. We'll also hear from Matt Aldermore from Lisbon. Now, Matt might have a little different take on this because, well, Lisbon is a team that is on the upswing. I don't know if they would be a top 8 team this year, but I'm pretty comfortable in saying Lisbon could be a top 16 team in Division 7 this year. So I'll be curious to hear what he has to say at 1 o'clock. TJ Parker from the Fitch Falcons coming up next. Stick around.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we go the extra mile for you.
By finding you the right vehicle at the right price.
By giving you confidence in your vehicle with a Greenwood Advantage warranty.
By guaranteeing you financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
And by being with you for every mile of your journey.
Now, we're going the extra mile for you with an additional $1,500 on your trade, plus the best selection of new and used vehicles in the area.
Visit greenwoodchevrolet.com and tell us how we can go the extra mile for you.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Today, we're talking about the decision made by the Ohio High School Athletic Association to expand the high school football playoffs from 8 to 16 teams in each region. Joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, the head football coach of the Austintown Fitch Falcons, a team that made a very deep run in Division II. TJ Parker joining me. TJ, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ron?
I'm doing good, and I feel like I need to say feed the nest before we begin this interview. So feed the nest, Coach.
You have to. As long as you're doing it, right?
Exactly.
You got to do it.
Okay, so I want to hear your opinion on the ruling yesterday by the OHSAA, and then given the fact that Austintown Fitch is in Division II, along with Boardman, along with Harding, you go from 8 to 16 teams in each region using the computer poll. Coach, what was your initial reaction when the OHSAA made this decision yesterday?
My initial reaction when I got the email and saw the final decision was 16. Honestly, I was disappointed for many reasons. I had mixed feelings on 12, but in our perspective as a Division II team surrounded by many smaller schools, I liked the look of 12, and it still kept value in that regular season. Top 4 teams got buys, expanded things, and it kind of put, I can use them as an example, but, in Canfield's region, when you look at their region, a region where sometimes teams go 7-3, 8-2, and don't make the playoffs, now when 12, and that's honestly why I believe Canfield put us on the schedule this year, now with 12 teams, you can ramp up some of the more local rivalries, and it gives that opportunity, I think, not only financially for, the Ohio High School Athletic Association, but I think it keeps a lot of teams in state where you had teams avoiding certain teams in state or in their region because if they played too hard of a schedule, they wouldn't get their better teams in the playoffs. And I think in the past, a lot of teams have missed out on the playoffs that could have made deep runs, and you saw some of that last year with maybe an Ursuline along those lines. But, 16, I just think that's just too far down the line. The kids are still 15 to 18 years old, and I know only 2 teams in every division are playing 16 games. But when you look at that schedule and you have aspirations, even a 10-game season is pretty long. With the kids, how big and fast and strong and much more developed they are now. It's a bruising season. And when you play schedules like we do, kids get beat up. And now you're taking that first-round game, and you're just adding more blows to it. And I think there's going to be some issues with it. And right now you're seeing a lot of pushback from the Coaches Association, which I'm pretty proud of. Because as a group, the majority voted for 12. And the state kind of didn't take our opinion into consideration.
TJ Parker is the head football coach of the Austintown Fitch Falcons, and he's joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. I began the show by saying that for the most part I'm against this, and the biggest reason why I'm against this is look at the young men who are playing major Division I college football, FBS. You have a 12-game regular season. If you're fortunate enough to go into the playoffs or to go to a bowl game, all right, now you have your 13th game. If you're fortunate enough to go into the playoffs and play in the semifinals and then get to the finals, regardless if you win or lose, you will have played your 14th game. These are 19 to 22-year-old men that are more developed than 15 to 18-year-old teenage kids. And we're telling the teenage kids in the state of Ohio, oh, by the way, you're not as developed as the 19 to 22-year-old young men playing in Division I FBS college football, but you're going to play 2 more games in a sport that is as physical a sport as any sport that we have in the United States. It's asinine, dangerous, and quite absurd.
Ron, I didn't actually hear the first part of the show, so I'm glad you brought that up. I had a conversation this morning. Kenny Mills, he's a teacher in our school, and then he's a referee. And he asked me what I thought, and I said, I'm kind of one that, likes to buck the system a little bit. But in the future, my idea with this 16 teams, and I would like to see when we got a group of coaches together to talk about it, my idea is I'll play 9 regular season games, and I'll insert a bye somewhere to give our kids a mental break, to give our staff a mental break, and just to give our bodies a mental break. You go through a schedule and you play a bruising 10-game schedule, and if you want to be the best, you got to play the best. So a lot of these teams are cranking up their schedule, as you can see from our schedule this year. I mean, we come right out of the gates and go Cheney, Kent McKinley, and those are first 2 weeks. And now the state has limited us on their thing with it is they limited us on camp. So they shortened camp by a week. So we get our first week, and then we get a scrimmage, and then we go get another week, get a scrimmage, and then we're in game week. You're just asking a lot, especially from the lower levels who are sharing kids, and kids are coming right out of and into sports. Some of these kids don't even get any off seasons to develop, and then you're putting them through a 20-week grinder. It's tough. It is tough. So that was my idea with it, to kind of counteract, but I don't know how our administration or others would look at that, but that was my initial reaction when I heard 16.
Honestly, Coach, I would even take it down to 8. And if you're going to have a 16-team playoff, then let's go back to 8 regular season games, and then you can do your 16-team playoff. Because otherwise, like I said, you run into the fact that you're going to be telling 15 to 18-year-old kids to play 2 more games than a young man playing college football at Division I. I don't understand it from that perspective. Now, look, I'm not going to be naive to sit back and say this isn't a money grab, because it is. I mean, let's be honest. You're going from 224 teams to 448. You're increasing the revenue by an extra round. This is an opportunity to get a lot more money. If you're going to do that, then you got to lessen the amount of regular season games.
I agree with you, and I think when it was 12, and a lot of people were upset about that, I was on the fence with it, because I thoroughly believed it wasn't fully about money. I believed it opened up the opportunity for a lot of better teams to play each other in the regular season without those games being make or break in terms of playoffs, because I know it can get frustrating for teams who have really successful teams and really talented teams, lose a couple early games to highly state-ranked teams, and then the playoff polls come out and computer points come out, and they're sitting at 9-10 when teams ahead of them have played a cupcake schedule and they go 9-1 and they're in. I know that's frustrating. So this kind of opens up and gives you more ground to work with. But then when you go 16, back to what you're saying, I think that fully puts the emphasis on money, because it's completely more games for them, and that's the only difference between 12 and 16 now is those 4 teams that were getting a bye, they're no longer getting a bye, and you're bringing more teams in, which means more games. And that money goes right to them.
See, now, I'm not really that impressed with the 12, and I'll give you the biggest reason why is the fact that you're going to be asking the top 4 seeds to take a bye. Now, I mean, let's be honest, Coach. If your team is rolling and you've, knock on wood, not had a whole lot of injury problems. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, but I'm going to throw out something that could very well happen. You're on a roll. Your team has had very little injury problems. You blow through your season, good enough to finish in the top 4. The last thing you want is to have a bye, because you don't want to go into the next round of the playoffs with all of that momentum taken away from you because you finished in the top 4 and your reward is, well, I'm giving you a bye. It's one thing if you're doing it, okay, we're banged up and we really, really need this week off. Okay, that's when the bye is fantastic. But there's no guarantee that that bye is going to be there for in that circumstance. That bye could be in the circumstance from which I'm saying, which could really mess things up for one of those top 4 seeds going into the quarterfinals.
Right. I mean, we went through it last year. We finished in the top 2 in our region. We were ranked 2 in our region. And to tell you the truth, during our bye week, our Todd Simons, our best receiver, got hurt and was out the rest of the playoffs during the bye week. I think, though, for us, in my perspective, it gives us a goal. And, I think people have to look at I think I was on the show and we talked about the bye week and how we would approach it. It was our opportunity to build on what we were building on and get better, refresh, and get ready for the playoffs. I don't think, bye weeks and bye games in terms of basketball or baseball tournaments are similar, because those are once you're rolling, you're playing well in basketball, you're feeding off each other. In football, I think every team, especially when you're at that level and you're in the playoffs, brings a different perspective to the game and things you have to attack and things you have to shore up on yourself. And I think the bye week rewards those teams to have the advantage, to get a game plan, like you said, to possibly get healthy, to critique things, and then get an early jump on scouting your next opponent. You're rewarded for having a very, very good regular season. So that's where I kind of did see both lines. But for our perspective, adding 12 gives a lot of good teams who really wouldn't necessarily play each other in the past. It opens the gate for some wriggle room to say, we could still play this team, we can challenge ourselves, win or lose, as long as we take care of the other ones, we could still get into the playoffs.
TJ Park, I'm sorry, Coach, finish your thought.
No, that was it. It just kind of eases head coach's mind and doesn't put an emphasis on, having to finish 8-2, 9-1 to get in.
TJ Parker, the head football coach of the Austintown Fitch Falcons, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. The other thing about this is, and I guess you can look at it 2 ways. Someone can sit back and go, we can still play up, and even if we lose, 6 or 7 games, if we have a strong schedule at 3-7, we should still be in the top 16. But then some other folks may just sit back and go, I'm not going to play up. What are you, nuts? I'm just going to play my schedule. I'll finish in the top 16, and then let's roll the dice. So I don't know if that's going to change any perspective in terms of teams playing up. I do know that in D5, D6, and D7, it's going to really, really affect in terms of the mercy rule games and the running clock games. I think you're going to see a ridiculous amount of running clock games in the lower 3 divisions in the first round than 1, 2, 3, or 4.
You saw it last year in Division I opening round of the playoffs. It was Division I, Region I. It got pretty ugly in terms of a lot of those games. They were blowouts. But Everybody has an angle with it, and I just 16 to me, where I think another aspect that we haven't spoken on yet that I think is going to cause a lot of trouble is these Catholic schools who have the opportunity to recruit around their area and get a bunch of kids in. The caveat with them is they find it harder and harder to schedule regular season games. They're forced to play teams out of their division, teams up, and unless they have really good seasons, you find it hard for them to get into the playoffs. With 16 teams and the schedules that majority of these Catholic schools are playing, now there's no reason why they shouldn't slip in. And you get, like our local Catholic schools and some of the ones around the state, as long as they're in the playoffs in those lower divisions, it's a problem for those divisions.
Oh, it will certainly be interesting. And I'll throw out a example. One of the schools struggles this year, and they finish 15 or 16. Congratulations to the 1 or 2 seed. Here's your reward. It'll be tough. There's no question. It will be very difficult. And that's an aspect of it that is going to be entertaining. For teams, and I brought this up to Coach Guerrero, and I certainly don't wish this on anyone, but if there's a team where a lot is expected and they get a rash of injuries early in the season and their record is not very good, but then slowly and surely, week 7, week 8, kids start coming back and they end the season really well, they might sneak into the playoffs and then do some serious damage in the postseason. So there is an aspect, both ends of the coin, where it could be interesting on both ends.
Yeah, it's going to be an adjustment for coaches and how you approach it, especially like us and other non-conference teams. Really now with the expanded playoffs, we're expected to get into the playoffs every single year. And we were when it was down to 8, and now I demanded of that when it was at 12. But now at 16, it's kind of, just expected that, hey, we're going to wake up and find our way into that 16. And then we don't have a conference to win. So, our thought, yes, we want to go out and win every game. But now, you get that tournament style as you do in high school baseball where it's like, okay, we want to be at our best at the tournament. We want to be healthy at the tournament. Now you got a guy who's banged up week 8. Hey, well, we got the tournament coming up. We don't need to necessarily win this game to get in. We just need you to be healthy come the first round of the tournament, and we'll see where the chips lie. I think there's definitely some rearranging and some kind of different looks that us as coaches have to take with it.
Well, and you bring up something really interesting, Coach, and we're speaking with T.J. Parker, the head football coach of the Austintown Fitch Falcons. Just because you're going through the grind of 10 games does not necessarily mean your team can't be really fresh going into the postseason. You just brought up some interesting points. If let's say a couple of your kids have some nagging injuries, but you know that you're going to be finishing in the top 16 because you just have to win X amount of games to get into the top 16. The thought process could be, all right, we're going to sit you guys down for a game or so, get you a little bit healthier. So long term, big picture, we want you guys to be healthy come postseason. So I think from that perspective, this may not be as bad of a decision in terms of kids staying healthy if the coaches do it in the way that you just explained.
Yeah, it's just the hard part with high school football and the way it's kind of structured is most high school teams, now us, for instance, we play Harding week 10 and then Boardman week 9. We consider our 2 rivals, even though we're not fighting for a conference title. Most other schools are in a conference and you're playing your rival or someone you're competing for a conference title at in week 9 or 10. So there's that juggling act there of, Ohio State's playing Michigan the game before they get into the Big Ten title, and then the Big Ten title onto the national championship. They're forced to win those in order to get in, when in our perspective, we really wouldn't be as much as, we're going to make sure we win those games.
Coach, let me ask you before we let you go, and we're speaking with TJ Parker, the head football coach of the Austintown Fitch Falcons. Last year, under the circumstances, I thought the OHSAA did something pretty interesting and quite entertaining. You lowered the regular season to 6 games, and everyone got into the playoffs. Everything was done by Thanksgiving weekend. Obviously, you can't do that and just have 6 games. But is there a way where you can sit back and say, you know what, we're going to play 8 games, everybody gets into the playoffs, we're going to have the exact same theme as 2020. If you're not willing to go to the playoffs, if you bow out, that's fine. You have a certain amount of time to bow out. If you lose in the first round, you can play 2 more games to get you to 10. If you lose in the second round, you can play 1 more game that doesn't mean anything, but you can play your 10th game. And anyone that gets to 10 games and then they're eliminated, well, then your season is over. Would you rather see that? I mean, if we're going to open up the floodgates, would you rather see the entire floodgates open, less regular season games, everybody gets into the playoffs, or the decision that they made yesterday and just have the top 16 teams in the playoffs, 10-game regular season?
I mean, for the kids' sake, no, I don't think you can take it that far. There's just programs that are trying to build, and some of them that are trying to get on their feet. And yes, they can opt out, but it's that line of what message are you really sending your programs when you choose. You're probably in the locker room telling your kids, here's what we're working for, here's what we're trying to get. And then as a staff, it may be the right decision to say, hey, we're going to bow out of the playoffs because this is not good. We're going to run into, like you said, a 1 versus whatever it may be. That can set you back for years. So, I said 16's too much. I think you open the flood, you're just going to have some major problems. I think the sweet spot pushing it was 12, and I just think things just went too far. And going through last year, it was only 6 weeks, but with the constant change and the unknown, it felt like forever. And having to, be side by side and dealing with all this with, Coach Pank, Jim Pank, who was our athletic director, it's a nightmare, especially for someone like Fitch, who is hosting games and then busing. It's a nightmare for the schools, but I don't think the Ohio High School Athletic Association really cares how much a nightmare it could be for parents, players, and administration, as long as they're getting their money.
Coach Parker, do you feel like the OHSAA completely disregarded and disrespected the coaches?
Most definitely, yes.
Okay. All right, all the best to you, and congratulations on last year. And, the good news, if there's good news in this, nobody's won 16 consecutive games to win a state championship yet. And by the way, the first team that went 15-0 when the thing was changed in 1999, the Poland Bulldogs, they were the first team in 99 to go 15-0 and win a state championship. So maybe, just maybe, one of our local teams can do this in year 1, go 16-0, win a state championship, and put their name in the record books.
I think Pete Perry was the running back then.
Yes, he was.
And we have a Perry boy in our program, so I hope that's a little.
That's an omen. That's a good omen of things to come, maybe. Hey, Coach, always a pleasure. Feed the nest, sir.
Thank you very much, Ron. Have a good weekend.
You as well. TJ Parker, the head football coach of the Austintown Fitch Falcons. joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Again, the biggest problem that I have with this is you're asking these kids, 15 to 18 years of age, to play 16 games. And if you're going to be going into the state championship, now that's only for the 2 teams in each division. So you're basically going to be asking 14 teams to play 16 games. But that's everyone's goal, is to get to the state championship and ultimately be one of the 7 teams crowned state champs. But in order to do that, in the expanded playoffs, you now have to play 16 games. And to me, that's completely asinine. It's dangerous, and it sends a terrible message when you consider 19 to 22-year-old guys, or 18 to 22. I'll include the 18-year-old seniors who don't turn 19 until the summer after their freshman year. 18 to 21, 22-year-old young men who are more developed than 15 to 18-year-old teenage kids. In FBS, the maximum amount of games you would play in FBS, and we're talking Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame, the big boys, 14 games. 12 regular season games. And if you get into the playoffs, 2 playoff games. Semifinals and the finals. If you get to the finals, you're playing 14 games. That's 2 less than what you would be playing in the state of Ohio in high school with 15 to 18-year-old kids, not 18 to 22-year-old young men who are way more developed. It doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense. But the sense the sense in this case is not SENSE. The sense in this case is CENTS. That's what this is all about. Firmly convinced of it, unfortunately. We'll take a time out. Matt Altimore is coming up next. We will hear from Matt Altimore, the head football coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils. Now, this is a different perspective, and I'm sure that there will be a different perspective. And let's be honest, Sean Guerrero from Springfield, TJ Parker from Austintown Fitch. These are 2 programs in which they were the cat's meow last year. Coach Guerrero and Springfield went to the state championship game. TJ Parker went very, very deep into the Division II playoffs. Lisbon is a team that may very well benefit from being in the playoffs this year. I don't know if Lisbon could get into the top 8 in Division 7, what would that be, Region 25. But I'm pretty comfortable in saying that Lisbon can get into the top 16 in Division 7, Region 25. So we'll chat with Matt Altimore about this, and we will hear from the head football coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils coming up after this timeout. You're listening to a Friday edition and watching a Friday edition. I pity anyone that has to watch this ugly face. Good God. You're watching the Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
This is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your pre-owned vehicle and much more. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their pre-owned vehicle at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, the head football coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils, Matt Aldermore. Leetonia grad, I might add. I just have to throw that out there, Coach, because I don't want you to forget where you came from. You are a Leetonia guy who just happens to be coaching for Lisbon.
Yes, that's right. You won't let me forget it. That's
No, absolutely not. A little trivia for everyone before we get into this. Matt Aldermore, starting left fielder on the only team from Leetonia that got out of district baseball play and went to the regional semifinals. You were the starting left fielder and made an unbelievable catch in the district championship game.
Oh, wow. You know what? Nobody's ever going to question your memory, Rod. I think you and my mom are the only ones that remember.
Well, hey, I was there. I was there, and I saw it firsthand. It was spectacular, and unfortunately, we couldn't get it done past Rittman, but that's okay. All right, so you're coaching Lisbon. This is your second year as the head coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils. This expanded playoff, and I made mention of this, and there's no disrespect in this. In 2021, I don't know if your team would get into the top 8, but I will say this: expanded playoffs, top 16. I expect Lisbon to be in the top 16. I think you guys will be in the top 16. So from that perspective, getting Lisbon back into the playoffs, albeit with expanded playoffs to 16 teams in each region, for a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in a couple of years, does that bring things a little bit better for you guys, or is this a situation where I don't necessarily want the gift of top 16? I'd rather have it at 8 or 12, where we can have a better way of earning our job.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's two sides to everything, and I've heard all the arguments, as I'm sure you have, for both the expansion and for leaving it the way it is, and or kind of attrition. But realistically, as a coach, any coach will tell you, no matter what coach you have on the program, probably give you the coach speak of, hey, you know what, we set out, we want to win the state championship, we want to compete, we want every game we play, and whether it's 16 teams, whether it's 8 teams, whether it's 4 or 2, it doesn't matter. If you're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to compete for a state championship, that's really all we ask. And, football season is pretty hectic. It's pretty busy. It's a 365-day-a-year job. You just got to keep preparing and hopefully put out the best product that you can for the parents and fans on Friday nights and get the kids to compete. And, the rules set forth, whether it's 8, 16, we just got to follow the rules and, play to get in. And then if we get in, you got a shot. And that's the way we kind of are looking at it down at Lisbon.
Okay, now obviously you know this as well as I do, and you're as good a history person in the Ohio High School Athletic Association playoffs. When they announced that this was going to go to 8 teams per region in 1999, and ever since 1999, there have been a lot of blowouts, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. Now, there have been some really exciting games as well, but the blowouts have been pretty high on the food chain.
Sure.
Now that you get 16 teams in, 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, Matt, we could be looking at some really ugly football the first week of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, you're right. You definitely can. And one of the probably negative things that a lot of the casual fans aren't talking about, moving into this year, the talk was 12 teams before they announced 16, and they took away a scrimmage and a week of two-a-days for us to prepare to the season. So, you lose a week of two-a-day practice, you lose your extra scrimmage. Now all of a sudden they're shortening the season to expand it on the back end, which still not every team's going to make the playoffs. So you lose a week of practice, and so that's one of the things they don't talk about. And you're right. Like I said, both sides though. There's been some blowouts in the state championships too. It's just the nature of, I think, high school sports, high school kids. There's talent disparities, there's record disparities now, but you're exactly right. You're going to see a lot more of lopsided games, just for the simple fact that there's going to be twice as many, but also, realistically, a 1-9 team playing a 10-0 team in round one potentially, or a 2-8 against 9-1. Yeah, you're going to see that. Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right.
So many things to basically unpack. I mean, T.J. Parker brought up something really interesting. On the surface, you can sit back and say, okay, 16 games is way too much. And I firmly believe that. I mean, when you think about it, you're talking about 18 to 22-year-old men who are more developed playing big boy college football. Maximum amount of games they're going to play is 14. You're asking 15 to 18-year-old kids that are nowhere close to being developed as the 18 to 22-year-old young men playing major college football. You're asking these kids to play 2 more games. Now, having said that, T.J. Parker brought up an interesting point. Let's say it's week number 8, and Lisbon is having a very nice year. They're in the midst of getting through the EOAC. They're 6-2 on the campaign, and a couple of your kids are kind of struggling a little bit. Maybe they could use the week off. Well, you're going to be in the playoffs. You have an opportunity now to look big picture and say, hey, we're going to sit you down this week, get you healthy for the playoff run, because we're going to be in the postseason. So you don't necessarily have to push the pedal down on the accelerator game in, game out, because at some point in time, you're going to get into the playoffs. You don't necessarily have to have all these kids play that 10th game or play a 10 game.
Sure, you're exactly right. And now with so many teams making it, you're looking at, maybe a lot of these leagues, a league title is still important to high school kids, let's face it. They want to win the league title first and then, take care of business in the playoffs. But, with all of these teams making the playoffs, you could see a lot of these conference title races that are usually not decided till week 8, 9, 10, sometimes not even till the last game in week 10, that maybe a team that's in third place, they're guaranteed, if they're out of the league race, the best, they can't even tie. But maybe they're third place in the league, all of a sudden you're exactly right. Maybe they're like, you know what, we can't win the league, we're going to play it. But so now then they affect other teams that are in, the conference title race. So it becomes all these things these talking heads on ESPN talk about all these days, with, the NBA rest time or, every year, week 17 in the NFL, are they going to rest third quarter? Is Big Ben going to rest in the playoffs, or is he not? It is. And coaches, we're a different breed. Some of them like to keep the same thing every day, every week, and not have kids change a routine. Some coaches feel that, maybe we could use a little rest here. I mean, I'm not going to lie, our kids' feet move a little bit different. They have a little bit more pep in their step in August 31st than they do on October 25th. You can see it if you're a coach. It's a long season anyway. You're right. Now when you're talking about almost a full another season, that's a lot. You're right. That's a lot for 16, 18-year-old kids. And I'm curious, just as you are, to see how coaches handle it.
Matt Oldemore, the head football coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. So when do you guys play Leetonia this year? Because I want to bring up a point on this.
Yeah, we play them. We play them actually week 7.
Okay.
We play Leetonia week 7.
So let me fast forward here to week number 7, which is going to be, and let me do some arithmetic here real quick. It's going to be October the 1st. Friday night, October the 1st, 2021, knock on wood, COVID's kicked to the curb. We have a full capacity crowd. Latonia Bears, Lisbon Blue Devils, Spaghetti Bowl, and both teams are having a hell of a good year. And both teams have some aches and pains. But you're both clearly going to be in the top 16 when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's Latonia, for God's sake. You're not going to be resting anybody.
No.
It's the Spaghetti Bowl.
Well, and you know me well enough, Rod, too. It doesn't matter Latonia, and then it doesn't matter Columbiana the week after, United the week after. It's too much. The Columbiana County history's bred too much in here. I don't know how I'd ever be able to pull that off of lightening it up a little bit. We want to beat everybody in the county, and exactly right. You're right. Just a Spaghetti Bowl, and you're going to see that the EOAC isn't as like some conferences play week 10. As their rival games. They always put that rivalry week. And I mean, what are you going to see then? You're right. With both teams firmly in the playoffs. And, you're going to see this. Some coaches will do it. I personally will not. But you're going to see some coaches jockeying for position, too. Because we figure it all out. Well, people smarter than me figure it out, jockeying for positions. They know where they're going to fall if they win this one or lose this one. And, maybe it's a favorable matchup if they end up, resting and maybe not putting out the full product that they should out on the field. Jockeying, like maybe it's better to be a 12 than a 9. Maybe it's better to be, maybe it's better to be 11 than an 8. So you're going to see some jockeying for position. You're going to see coaches. It's going to be all over. And it'd be curious to see what all these coaches do because it is a lot to think about and unpack.
One element that I really haven't even spoken about since we started the conversation an hour and change ago is the fact that the top 8 seeds, if you win the first game, you're guaranteed to have a home game in the second game as well. Let's be honest. We love our kids when they're playing a home game in front of the home crowd, especially if you're a senior. By God, if you can get a 6th and a 7th game at Lisbon High School, hey, that's gravy. That's 2 more opportunities for those kids to play in front of the home folks one final time.
Yeah, exactly. And, and it's been a discussion in coaching circles. Heck, it's been a discussion all over the place the last couple of days, And, on a simple level, I get it. There's a lot of, negatives out there right now with it going to expand in 16. But, the other side of the argument is, hey, if you can double the amount of teams that get to have an extra opportunity to for their parents to see the kids perform at halftime for the band, an extra opportunity for parents to, parents and fans watch cheerleaders, an extra opportunity to see high school football, before hopefully the weather turns bad. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, the fans, I know, regular fans and diehard fans, maybe a little bit upset about this. I know the coaches are upset about this, but the bottom line is, parents, they want to see their kids perform. And if you're right, if you get a 6th or 7th opportunity to perform in front of your home crowd, perform in front of your parents, your girlfriends, whatever, boyfriends, whatever, and if you're cheerleaders, that's what it's about. That's what high school athletics is. And so, you're right. There's a couple ways to look at it, and you're right. And that's a great opportunity. The unfortunate part about that is, the schools aren't going to get the money from these extra home games, maybe in the concession stand, but, not at the gate. But, we haven't talked about that yet. Let's face it, that's basically 90% of the reason between OHSA proposing this is money, but I'm sure that's another topic.
Well, listen, I even flat out said it. This doesn't make any sense, SENSE, but it sure as hell does make a lot of sense, CENTS.
You're exactly right.
Look,
exactly right.
forget about the decision for right now. Let's just have a conversation between you and me, and judging by my ratings, that's not too far out of the realm of possibility, but I digress. In a perfect world, in Matt Aldemore's perfect world, what is the number that it should be met in terms of teams going into a playoff each region?
number of wins? Are you sure?
No, a number of teams qualifying for a playoff. If you were the guy that was in charge of the OHSAA, what would that number be? Each region has X amount of teams going to the playoffs.
I've got to say I'm kind of partial now, and maybe just because it's been so long that we went through it. But 8 I thought was a good number, and for the reason being, and some of the good teams that my dad coached and some of the teams I coached at Latonia, we had some really good teams that just barely missed out when you had 3 divisions and 2 teams in each region. 2 was definitely too small.
Yeah, you're bringing up a really ugly memory that I was about to go down to, because 1980, 41 years ago this year, the best Latonia team I have ever seen firsthand got screwed out of the playoffs because the absurdity of 2 teams in each region. It should have been 4, and I'm still pissed about it to this day.
Exactly. And then, you're exactly, you point to that one. I mean, that's the one that always gets talked about, in Latonia town here. Fast forward when I played in, 1992, we had a great team. I thought so. And, won the league title and, finished 5th in the region when they took the top 4 just by thousands of points. And I thought it was another team that maybe, could have had a good opportunity. And the reason why I said 8 was, we had a separation of 8 years of winning league titles at Latonia. In 1992, we won the league title, barely missed out on the playoffs. And then, like you had said, 1999, they changed it. Well, we won the league title in the year 2000, and we made the playoffs, for the first time. We finished, I can't remember, 5th, 6th, 7th, doesn't matter. We were in the top 8. We didn't get a home game. But, I think with the top 8, it guaranteed, at least in our little neck of the woods, or at least in Columbiana County, the Mahoning Valley area, that if you won the league, now it turned into the last 20 years that basically if you won the league, you were almost guaranteed to make the playoffs. And I think that's a good reward, for local schools, small schools, around our area, is, it was kind of guaranteed, top 8, Now top 16, you're talking maybe top half the league. You might be seeing teams that maybe have a good season out of league, picking some opponents that they can maybe beat and possibly going like 2-5 in their own league and qualifying for the playoffs. So, my opinion, just because I've done it so long, and it's been that way so long, is the top 8, because at least if you look back the last 20 years in the EOAC or the Tri-County League before that, and the Inter-County League before that, I don't know for sure, but I can pretty much guarantee you every league champion has qualified for the playoffs pretty much. Now 16, I guess, is going to be 100% guarantee, but so that's just what I'm a little partial to. But hey, ask me in 5 years, I might say, hey, 16's great. Who knows? Changes, I guess.
I'm a little curious at this because I honestly don't know what the answer is going to be, because I can see both ends of this. And I'll just throw this out. In top 16, does this take away the thought, if you're let's say you're a Division 7 program and you want to schedule up because you want to get ready for the postseason, believing that you're going to be a postseason team now that it's top 16, do you have now more of a sense where you can take some risks in your 3 non-conference games and say, oh, yeah, we'll play this Division 4 team, this Division 5 team, maybe even get a little frisky and play this Division 3 team, knowing that even if we don't win this game, okay, we are still going to have enough wins to qualify for the top 16, and win or loss in these non-conference games, they're going to get us ready for the postseason. Is that going to be more prevalent, or are coaches now going to say, I'm not scheduling up. Get out of here with that crap. I'm gonna play the biggest cupcakes you're ever gonna see in your life, and my team's gonna be in the playoffs, and I'm gonna be able to get the G.I. Joe with a kung fu grip because nobody gonna be firing me because I'm gonna be still telling everyone I got my team to the playoffs every year.
You're exactly right. I think you'll see both. I think you'll see both scenarios happening. I really do. You're right. It's going to take away a little bit of the incentive to schedule up, I think. But, let's face it, coaches, no matter what coach you have on here, coach's number one concern going into any season when you do your high school preview, they're going to say, well, we got to stay injury-free, or we got to stay away from injuries. You got to be healthy. Coaches are always going to say it, and that's true. I mean, in a 10-game season, now, I mean, you're talking 16. I mean, it's a war of attrition, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL. I mean, injuries, unfortunately, football is a violent game. Try to be as safe as possible, but, injuries do happen. And now, with the expanded playoffs, expanded rounds, there's more injuries. I personally, my biggest thing is, can we stay healthy? Football is a little bit different where, Latonia High School could play Canton McKinley in a game of basketball, and let's face it, Canton McKinley's going to beat them 100 to whatever, it's going to be ugly. But at the end of the game, they'll probably just take their jerseys off, throw them on the floor, and go to Pizza Hut and have fun. Latonia High School plays.
Hey, wait a second. No Latonia kid will ever go to Pizza Hut. You need to stop that right now.
Yeah, you caught me. You're exactly right. Well, I don't want to say where we used to go after the games, but we'll just leave it at that.
I mean, we don't want to get anybody in any trouble, but hey, listen, when Tony's was around, Tony's Pizza, and I may or may not have had a water with barley and hops. I'm not going to throw that out there, but Tony's Pizza was definitely a must-have.
On the menu, you're exactly right. That was part of the menu. You're exactly right. But yeah, you're right. But I mean, basketball. But if Latonia or Lisbon were to play a Canton McKinley in football, that's kind of dangerous. At times. So I don't know. I don't know what coaches are going to do. We're going to try to do what's best, at least down in Lisbon, what's best for our program. And the problem with football is you schedule so many years out. 3, 4, 5, 6 years out sometimes, that, it's hard to gauge what kind of team you're going to have. Then when that time comes around, you may be very young and you're scheduled up, or, that time's come around, you might have wanted to beef up your schedule, but you weren't sure where your program was going to be. So that's you're right. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think you're going to see both scenarios that you mentioned, coaches trying to schedule as many cupcakes as they can, or coaches trying to schedule up to get them ready for the playoffs. I think you're going to see both.
All right, let me ask you before we let you go, and we're speaking with Matt Oldemore, the head football coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils. He joins me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Look, I understand the OHSAA is all about money in this particular scenario, so why not do this? Because there are still a lot of Division I teams that, in comparison to the other Division I programs, nowhere near as big. So why not have, instead of 16 teams in each region, 7 divisions, why not have an 8th division and take some of the smaller Division I programs down into Division II, smaller programs from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and then finally the smaller Division 7 programs are now Division 8. And yeah, you may not have but 16 teams in each region, or 11 or 12 teams in each region. But by God, you'll have 8 teams in each region qualifying for a state playoff, and you're making the same amount of money because you've added another division. Why couldn't they have done that?
Yeah, and I agree totally. I agree totally with you. I mean, I think that's a great idea. I'm not going to rail against the OHSAA, on air too much, but I think sometimes they're a victim of maybe not listening to the coaches of their sports. What would be good ideas, or maybe even, I'll say just common sense sometimes doesn't prevail. But, I think that's a great scenario, and I think that's would have been a great thing to look into, because now that eliminates, like you said, an extra week. You got something to play for, and you got a shot. You have a shot if you're a Lisbon Division 8 playing against other Division 8 schools. And I don't know why. I can't even get into their head. But that would be a perfect scene. See, all they got to do is listen to you. Maybe you should have called them up before
that's a dangerous thought, and you know this as well as anyone. And anyone who listens to me for a long period of time, they're going to go crazy.
No, but that is a great idea. That is a great idea. And that's the other thing, too, though. They kind of took us by surprise, too, at least football coaches. We didn't know this was coming. We had nobody even the guys that are in tune, with the state and all that, we really didn't expect this to happen, and it wasn't even talked about. So it's just, the timing of it, and without any consultation, kind of just threw us for a loop.
It feels like you guys got disrespected out of this.
Yeah, and I think so. And we have a lot of good guys, a lot of good coaches in our statewide, that really advocate for the kids and for the sport of football. We have some great ones in our area. Mike and Tom Pavlansky and Bob Spade are very much, doing what they can, to try to, get our voices heard. And, just people don't listen. It's a story of life.
Yeah, the Pavlansky boys are going to be joining me in about, Mike's going to join me in about 35 minutes. Tom will join me at 2:15. So you got a very nice job of promoting them, by the way, Coach.
Oh, hey, there you go. You know what? Great guys.
You might have a future in this business. I don't know, Coach.
I don't know. I could get in trouble. You got a little bit of a. You catch your tongue a little bit better than I do.
Well, I don't know. I mean, on a what was supposed to be a closed mic, you drop an F-bomb and everyone loses their mind. The microphone was turned off, though. I mean,
Hey, you said you weren't going to bring up old stories. I don't want to get anybody in trouble either.
Look, I mean, God bless Ray Schwab for being so compassionate, even though he suspended me for a week. I had to prove to him, hey, the microphone was turned off when I dropped the F-bomb. And Troy Burdine, to this day, Burdine laughs his ass off when I tell this story because he keeps telling me he got into my head when we did this. So he gets the last laugh out of it, of course.
Man, there's one of these days when there's a lot of sports going on, and you have dead time, dog days, summer. The Indians and the Pirates are out of the race. We should just talk about old stories one day, and I think that would be an excellent topic. The running point, old time stories.
Yeah, there would be a lot of people that would be thrown under a bus. I can see your dad, Coach Kemp, myself, Danny Guido's name might get thrown a few. Arnold and Curtis Brooks will definitely be included in. Yeah, oh God, that would be interesting to say the least.
We would have to change the names to protect the innocent.
Yeah, this is true. Although Arnold just texted something on Facebook, and it goes back to the early '80s. And you look back on it now, and it's unfortunate that track and field is not the ancillary sport that football or basketball or baseball is. But, in the early 80s, Leetonia finished state runner-up in 1983, won a state championship in 1984, and go back to 1982, finished third place for all of the Class A teams in track and field in the entire state of Ohio. That's a 3-year run I don't think anybody's ever going to be doing anytime soon. In terms of the size of a school like Leetonia, I don't think you're ever going to see anything like that anytime soon.
No, and that's the beauty of, as time goes by, people in general appreciate that more. I mean, when you're living in the moment, thinking, oh well, this is the way it's supposed to be, but then, you're right. I think people appreciate great accomplishments like that 3-year run, like you just mentioned, or Lisbon State Championship in football. They just, at the time, you're just like, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be. And then as years go by, you're like, wow, this was a pretty special group. This was pretty special time, and you're exactly right.
Listen, Zach Williams to this day doesn't have to pay for any drinks in Lisbon. Now that he's of age, everyone, if Zach Williams comes into Lisbon, I will guarantee you, within 2 seconds, that story comes up of Lisbon winning the state championship.
You're exactly right. My goal is to win enough games down there that I can get to that stature. I like to have a beer, so I just got to win enough games.
Let me ask you, how is the off-season conditioning working out down in Lisbon?
It's good. Yeah, it's going well. It's an adjustment. I mean, I called last year 0 just because of the COVID thing, and this is year 1. We're getting there. That's one thing I guess I would like to, add about my opinion of the playoffs here is, it could be a good thing, at least for us personally at Lisbon, being we're going to be pretty young, and, that the playoffs is, it's a whole different ballgame when you get to the playoffs. So maybe, you know, if you're in the top 16, maybe you get a 15 or 14 or a 13 seed maybe, or 12. And, yeah, maybe you don't have some success. But now next year, when you get the year after that, you get 9 starters back. They have playoff experience. They know how the weeks are different and games are intense, you know, and it might help you, you know, that top 16 may help down the road, you know, with that. So it's kind of the way, you know, I'm personally looking at it. But, yeah, it's good. You know, they're good kids. They got great tradition. Lisbon's got a great tradition. We've got great kids. And, you know, it's exciting. I can't believe I think we're less than 90 days from week 1. So it's coming up.
You have a freshman class coming up, and one person in particular that is as big as a mountain, and I know that he'll be used quite well down in Lisbon. We had, when I had to coach against him in 7th grade with basketball, it was a nightmare trying to deal with him.
Oh yeah, and you know what? He's a great kid too. That's the best thing about it, you know. And we do have great kids. That's good. I haven't had any, 2 a.m. phone calls to bail anybody out of jail or anything just yet. So, you know, we have good kids.
Well, fill their bellies with pasta. Get ready for the Spaghetti Bowl, and hopefully, maybe this coming year, maybe we can actually get this Spaghetti Bowl thing put together. I know with COVID and everything, it kind of threw it out of the context in 2020. Offer still stands, though. I would love to be a part of the re-establishment of the Spaghetti Bowl tradition.
We are 100% going to get that done, Ronnie.
All right.
No doubt. Yes,
all right, that's cool. I look forward to it. Coach, always a pleasure, and congrats on your success, and I will root for you guys 9 out of 10 weeks.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Yeah,
tell the Pavs I said hi and I miss them.
I certainly will. I certainly will. All right, see you. Matt Aldermore, the head football coach of the Lisbon Blue Devils. God, I just still Aldermore, Lisbon. It doesn't roll off the tongue. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. All right, Matt Aldermore from the Lisbon head football coach joining me on the Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We're back in a bit. Stick around, more to come.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
This is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your pre-owned vehicle and much more. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their pre-owned vehicle at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rue gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Years ago, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods began with 3 siblings, a hand-set sawmill, and a few local orders. And while business has certainly changed over the years, what has not are our principles of hard work, craftsmanship, and commitment to quality. At Baird Brothers, we're proud to put our name on the products we create, from moldings and doors to flooring and lumber. Thank you for 60 great years. We look forward to 60 more. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Bad credit, no problem. I can get you approved for a low-interest loan and maybe even a low-payment lease on a new car at the #1 Chevy dealership in Trumbull County for 3 years in a row. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved or come see me, Tony Page, to get a new vehicle today. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Coming up in about 24 minutes or so, we'll hear from Mike Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Canfield Cardinals. And at 2:15, brother Tom Pavlansky, the new head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, will be chiming in on this decision as well. Look, I mean, simply put, I don't like the fact that, and it's not going to be every team. It's going to be the top 2 teams in the state of Ohio in each division will be playing 16 games. Okay, that's way too many games. I'm sorry. In FBS football, kids that are 18 to 22 years of age, if you're an elite program that is blessed to get into the national championship game, that's only going to be your 14th game. We're asking our kids, in which 99% of them or 98% of them are not elite, or in that picture where they're going to be playing major Division I college football. 98% of the state will not. You're asking them to play 2 more games. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Now, the other thing that, again, it would not raise the subject of amount of games played. But perhaps this would have been the right decision for the OHSAA to make, and that is to add a division where the discrepancy of Division I and Division II, or even the discrepancy within Division I, is pretty friggin' crazy. So maybe you have Division I, II, and then the smaller Division II programs filter into 3. The smaller Division III programs filter into 4. The smaller Division 4 goes into 5. The smaller Division 5 programs go into Division 6. The smaller Division 6 programs go into Division 7. The smaller Division 7 programs fall into Division 8. You're probably looking at 12, 13, 14 teams in each region. And if you're looking at the top 8 teams in each region, okay, you would still get blowouts 1 versus 8, but you wouldn't be playing 16 games. Now, you'd still be playing 15, and that's, again, that's too much. Unfortunately, it is. I mean, it's one more than major college football, where guys that are 18 and 22 are more fully developed than the high school kids. But you would have 8 divisions, and you would also, creating that new division would mean more money, and I don't think that you would have the potential disaster of these kids playing 16 games. Instead, you could have 8 divisions playing the 15-game schedule if you're good enough to win your division, and you would be getting more money, the OHSAA would, based on the fact you have a completely new division with 32 more teams and 16 more games being played. So you would have your money from that perspective. An extra division with 16 more games in each division, you get an extra 16 games of revenue. So I think they could have handled it that way. Let me put it to you this way. If someone had told me, hey, would you rather have 7 divisions, top 16 teams in each division, go to the playoffs, and we're going to have the teams play, the elite teams that get to the state title game. They're going to be playing 16 high school games. Would you rather have that, or would you rather us drop down to 8 divisions and keep it as is? The 8 divisions, top 8 teams in each division, in each region, I should say, go to the playoffs, and there you go. You'd have an extra 32 teams in the playoffs with Division 8. An extra 16 games being played, which essentially is what you're doing right now. Pretty much. You're adding, you're adding some, well, you're actually doubling the amount of teams going into the postseason from 224 to 448. What would it be for Division 3? All right, well, I'm sorry, Division 8. Let's see, you'd have 32 regions, 8 teams per region. You're looking at 256 instead of 224. But they've raised it to 448. So you pretty much understand why the OHSAA went this route instead of dropping or expanding to 8 divisions and keeping it as is. Top 8 teams in each region, 8 divisions, 32 regions, top 8 teams in each region. You're looking at 256 teams instead of 224. So you would be looking at 16 more games being played. But there's a big difference between 256 and 448. Because if you're putting 16 teams in each region, that's 64 teams per division going into the playoffs. You multiply that by 7, there's your 448. And 448 is a much, much bigger number than 256. So, as I've said on this program, it doesn't make any sense, S-E-N-S-E, but it sure as hell makes a lot of sense, C-E-N-T-S. Bottom line. All right, we got high school baseball and high school softball. We also have some YSU baseball. YSU baseball beginning at 2 o'clock up at Eastwood Field. Game 1 is supposed to be the 7-inning game. Here's the caveat. If game 1 is an extra inning affair, then game 2 will be the 7-inning affair. Senior southpaw Colin Floyd is making his 10th start of the season. He gets the nod in game 1 of this 4-game series between Youngstown State and Oakland. And let's be honest, Oakland is a team that is in dead last place in the Horizon League. This is a baseball team that frankly has no shot at getting into the top 4 unless they get insanely hot from this point forward. If you're the Penguins, you got to take care of business because right now the Penguins find themselves on the short end of stuff. They are currently sitting in 4th place. And in order to get into the playoffs, you got to finish in the top 4. Well, here's the thing. You better be able to take care of business from here on out. Otherwise, you might get a little bit of company from the good folks at Northern Kentucky because Northern Kentucky is breathing rather heavily on the YSU Penguins. The Northern Kentucky team is 11-13. Penguins are 13-11. These two teams split a 4-game series. So right now the lead is at 2. The lead is currently at 2. Penguins over Northern Kentucky. Oakland is 3-13 on the campaign. Oakland is running out of time. I mean, they're 9 games out of 4th place. And their schedule that's left. Let me take a look at this real quick. Their schedule that's left, they get a 4-gamer with Youngstown State. They got to go to Milwaukee and play Milwaukee for 4. They got Northern Kentucky at home for 4. They got to go to Wright State for 4. And they got Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Rochester Hills for 4. You got 20 games left, and 16 of them are going to be against teams that are currently in the top 5. And Oakland's 3-13. I don't want to put the nail in any coffin or anything like that, but Oakland, their chances are slim and none, and slim starting to walk out the door. That's their shot. So if you're Youngstown State, you're taking on a team in Oakland that is 9-18 on the campaign. They're 3-13 in the league. You got to nail that final. You got to put that final nail in the coffin and say, you're not getting into the postseason on our dime. We got to take at least 3 games, if not sweep this series. And if the Penguins take care of business, there is a very good chance that the Penguins could find themselves in as high as 2nd place. When you consider the fact that Milwaukee is going to be playing UIC this weekend in Milwaukee. Now, UIC is 13-10, 1/2 game better than the Penguins, and Milwaukee is 12-8. The Penguins are 2.5 games in back of Milwaukee. So let's say that YSU sweeps the series against Oakland and they go to 17-11. And Milwaukee loses 3 out of 4. Well, Milwaukee goes to 13-11. Penguins are 17-11. They just jumped them. UIC 3-1 is 16-11. Penguins are 17-11. They just jumped them, and the Penguins are now in 2nd place. So the Penguins can get into 2nd place this weekend with a 4-game sweep of Oakland, and UIC taking care of Milwaukee 3 out of 4. That could put the Penguins in 2nd place. So that game starts, the game 1 of the doubleheader starts at 2 o'clock. And again, the Penguins just need to put away all hopes of Oakland trying to get back into the top 4, because you just got to nip that in the bud immediately. Colin Floyd will make his 10th start of the season in game 1 of the doubleheader. I did want to throw out some news pertaining to the Browns. The Browns earlier today, added the 5th-year option for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield will be getting a fully guaranteed $19 million contract in 2022. It is completely guaranteed at $19 million. That's fully guaranteed. That'll be in the year 2022. The Browns announcing this morning that they have picked up the fifth-year option for Baker Mayfield. Look, I think it's the right decision, but here's the caveat. In order for this to completely be the right decision, the Browns are also going to have to pick the fifth-year option up, or at least get Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt signed to a multi-year contract. Now, I believe Chubb is going to be going into his fourth year as well. He's going to need to stick around here next year as well. And I say this for this reason. Baker Mayfield cannot win in the National Football League without a running attack. And I'm not saying this as speculation. I'm saying this as look at the record and look what he has done when the Cleveland Browns have rushed for under 100 yards. Baker Mayfield is 2-8. 2-8 in his career when the Cleveland Browns rush for under 100 yards. Those two victories, perhaps the two worst teams in the AFC. Cincinnati Bengals, prior to Joe Burrow, and the New York Jets that have been a steaming pile of garbage for the last, I don't know how many years. Not exactly a solid record. And for the Browns to succeed, you got to get Baker Mayfield a solid running attack. So this works as long as you're also going to be saying, hey, Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, you got to come back for a fifth year because, well, in Chubb's case, a fifth year. In Hunt's case, I don't know, would it be a third year or whatever. One of those two guys has to come back and perform in order for this decision made by the Browns today to be really, really good. Because if you put Baker Mayfield on the field, but you don't have a running attack, you're not winning in the National Football League. He won't win. He won't win very many games on his own. And I'm not saying that because he's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying the record shows, as of right now, in the first 3 years of Baker Mayfield, going into his fourth year, he has been below average, if not terrible, when the Cleveland Browns do not run for 100 yards in a game. He's 2-8 career-wise. That's not good. Now, in fairness, Josh Allen, whose contract was not picked up by the Bills as of yet, and that's a little perplexing. Allen's record is 7-10. Now, 7-10 isn't exactly a great record either, but Josh Allen also won 2 rounds of the playoffs in this past year when their team was not running the ball very well. They didn't run for 100 yards against the Colts. They didn't run for 100 yards against the Ravens, and the Bills beat both of them. And I believe this year he was 6-1, if I'm not mistaken. When the Bills ran for under 100 yards, and the one was the AFC title game against Kansas City, and that just obviously the Bills need a running game, and we'll see what happens there. But it's good. It's a good decision by the Browns as long as they continue to get Nick Chubb on this team as well, or at least someone that is a solid running back, because you're going to need that solid running back because, and I'll say it, Mayfield can't win the game by himself. He's just not built that way, or at least in the first 3 years, his career record would indicate that he is not good enough to win games on his own. He's going to need a running attack. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. Yesterday we did have some games in high school baseball and high school softball, and today I would assume that we are going to be really, really busy. Might I add, busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. Yeah, that's how busy we're going to be today when we get ourselves into some high school baseball and high school softball on this Friday. And here's your schedule for today. Again, the YSU game will start at 2 o'clock. They're taking on Oakland. Game 1 of the doubleheader. We will have that for you on ysnlive.com. Coming up at 4:30 this afternoon from Ursuline, that would be Bobsine Park. The Poland Bulldogs will venture to Ursuline to take on the Ursuline Irish. That starts at 4:30. 5 o'clock today, here are the games that we're going to broadcast. LeBray is at Brookfield. Champion is at Camel. Medina comes down to the area to take on Canfield. Alliance is at Crestview. I'm going to be really, really curious to see if young Mr. Bruni will be pitching in this game. I would think not, but you never know. Columbiana is at East Liverpool. Bristol is at Hubbard. Austintown Fitch is at South Range. That'll be a hell of a game. Coming up at 5 o'clock, also at 5 o'clock, I should say, Ravenna is at West Branch, and then you have the nightcap of the doubleheader. Hopefully, the nightcap of the doubleheader at 5 o'clock or somewhere thereabouts. Oakland and YSU from Eastwood Field. Again, game 1 is supposed to be 7 innings. If it's not 7 innings, if that game goes to extra innings, then game 2 will be 7 innings. It was supposed to be single game on Friday, doubleheader on Saturday, single game on Sunday. Weather forecast on Saturday, not too good. So they decided to do the doubleheader today because the weather is a whole lot better. So that's the schedule for today, and hopefully you will be able to enjoy some baseball on the airwaves, ysnlive.com. All right, we'll take a timeout. On the other side, we will hear from the head football coach of the Canfield Cardinals, Mike Pavlansky. It's been a while since we've talked to Mike. We'll hear from him coming up after this timeout. You're listening to a Friday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealthadvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we go the extra mile for you.
By finding you the right vehicle at the right price.
And by being with you for every mile of your journey.
Now, we're going the extra mile for you with an additional $1,500 on your trade. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
If you're looking for a new Ford vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of new Ford models. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your new Ford. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their new Ford at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State 40 Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We have heard from three different coaches about the expanded playoffs. We will get to coaches 4 and 5. They happen to be related, the Pavlansky brothers, and we're going to hear from Mike first because, well, Mike's been a little more successful, so we'll hear from him first. And I have to throw those digs in and try to get the rivalry that you two should have spice it up a little bit, Coach.
I really appreciate that, Ron. Thanks. We've been more successful here because we've had better talent. There's no doubt about
there
that.
You go. Exactly. So, listen, all kidding aside, the OHSAA yesterday threw an absolute curveball to the coaches. Coaches were under the impression that perhaps we would get to 12 teams, which may not be perfect, but it's I think it's a little bit more feasible than 16. The OHSAA said, let's just do 16, no buys. And from the bye, okay, I get it, but, man, this is an extra week. And I made this comment, Coach, and I want your opinion on this. You know, now you're asking high school kids, not fully developed men yet, you're talking teenagers, 15 to 18 years of age, to play 16 games. Now, put this in context. Division I big boy football only plays 14 games, and that's if you're in the national championship game. This doesn't make any sense.
Ron, I'm with you on that. From the last decade, we've been preached to about safety, and I really believe the game of football is much more safer today than it has been ever since we've played. But this flies in the face of that. There's no doubt about that. I guess my bigger complaint with or issue with the Ohio High School Athletic Association is they did not involve the Coaches Association in any way, shape, or form in this decision. I'm fortunate to sit on the playoff committee in the state of Ohio. It took us 2 years to review, research, study, going from 8 to 12 teams. And when we had enough information, the lead on our playoff committee went to the association, said, here's the information, look at it, you got questions, ask. That 2-year process gave us 12 teams. Whether somebody's for it or against it, that's beside the point, but it was a 2-year process. This was done unilaterally by Columbus with nobody's input. That's not good for all sports in Ohio because if they're going to do it to football, they're certainly going to do it to other sports. And the other thing I have with this is that there's no way, shape, or form this makes football in the state of Ohio any better.
Well, let me ask you, and I brought this up to Matt Oldemore, who's now coaching over at Lisbon. If they were if this were a money grab, and I understand there's a big difference between 448 teams into the postseason and what I would propose. what my proposal was, why don't we just expand the playoffs, but not expand it in terms of 8 to 16 teams, just add another division. And the smaller D1 schools go to D2. The smaller D schools go to D3. The smaller D3 schools go to 4. And then the smaller D7 schools encompass Division 8. Yeah, you'd probably have, 12 or 13 teams per region. And you'd have your top 8 teams in each region, and you'd probably still have the same amount of blowouts, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, in a normal first week of high school football. But by God, you would have an extra division. You'd have 8 champions. More importantly, you'd have 32 more teams, 16 more high school games for week number 1 of the playoffs, and that would mean more money, and not at the expense of potentially screwing a kid health-wise.
Ron, it's certainly a valid point you have. I'm going to take the opposite side of that. I think by admitting more teams, by expanding divisions by 1, we've taken a great product and watered it down. I think that when you talk to people across the country, and they email the association, the Football Coach Association, about how we run playoffs, coaches in colleges and high schools across the country that, again, contact us. They think we've got a great system, that we're just screwing it up. And, once again, I think by not communicating, we don't always have to agree, but by gosh, you've got to communicate. And by not communicating to the Football Coach Association and just, directing us that we're going to have 16, there's a lot of problems here. And, safety is certainly one of them.
Well, there's some anger in your voice, and I don't blame you. You guys have this proposal. You worked your ass off for this proposal, and they essentially ripped it up in front of you and said, yeah, we're going to go this direction. Sorry, guys.
No doubt. And there's some anger. There's no doubt about it. We sat in a meeting last night, a virtual meeting, obviously, with the Football Coach Association for about an hour and a half. And, there's a lot of upset coaches across the state. Whether or not they wanted to go to 16, it was about how the process was done. Because what's the next thing they're going to throw at us? And not ask our input of coaches who are on the ground level and deal with high school kids every day and want to make the game better. Again, I just don't think by adding 16 teams to every region for the playoffs makes the game of football in Ohio better. Yesterday the NCAA came out 2 days ago and said, there's going to be basically 2 overtimes. And that's it. And then after the second overtime, if you're still tied, you got to go for a 2-point conversion. Why is that? That's because of the safety of the game, safety for the kids. Less plays, less games, less contact. That's in the best interest of the student athlete. This is certainly not in the best interest of the student athlete. Obviously, your 1 through 12 teams aren't going to opt out of the playoffs. But 13 through 16, you're going to see some opt-outs. And when you opt out, is there a penalty? That hasn't been decided. Are you still going to pay officials that were assigned to that game, but now don't have to work it? Are you going to still pay them? You're losing money, okay? And then somebody's going to get a bye. They haven't answered any of these questions with their press release. All they said is that it's going to make a better experience for kids in the community to be part of the playoffs. Well, if you look at Division I, there's teams that were 1-9 that would get into the playoffs in the system. How is that making it better that we made the playoffs at 1-9?
Now, I understand, and here's something to ponder. What happens if the OHSAA says that we're still going to do 16? So seed 13, all right. If you're not willing to play, seed 14, you're now 13, 15, you're 14, 16, you're 15, and you 17, you guys are playing. You're the 16 seed. Congratulations.
Yep, certainly possible, but none of that's been communicated to us.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, and look, there's a lot of reasons that I'm not happy with this, but this is the big one, and I am a big fan, and you know this, and I think every coach that has ever heard me speak, whether it was on terrestrial radio or now with YSN, I am a big fan of scheduling up. You no longer have to schedule up. You could just play your league, or you can play your 10 games, don't schedule up, and you're pretty much guaranteed a top 16 spot if you play a cupcake schedule that's the equivalent of stepping over a Sunday newspaper, and you can get into the playoffs.
Agreed. The people that schedule up, Ron, to be honest with you, they schedule up for one reason. They believe they can compete and beat that team they're scheduling. I don't know of a coach that's going to schedule a team and say, you know what, guys, that one's a loss this week, but it's going to make us better for the playoffs. I don't know one coach that goes into a game believing they're going to lose a game. Okay? So when you schedule up, you schedule because you believe you can beat that team. So the teams that can't schedule in Ohio, for whatever reason, okay, they're complaining we can't get 10-game schedules. Well, you can play 10 games. There's teams that you said no to in Ohio, and I know that for a fact when you talk about scheduling. You're right. You don't have to now schedule anybody you want to. You can just go play a league schedule, play anybody who's willing to play you. Because when they're willing to play you, they're telling you, we believe we can beat you. Okay? And, this whole thing doesn't make sense it doesn't make football in the state of Ohio any better. It waters it down, okay? In the first couple rounds of the playoffs, in most divisions, okay, will not be as competitive as if you stayed with 8 or possibly even 12. And then I go back to the biggest sticking point is why have a coaches association in football, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, hockey, whatever, when the people in Columbus are going to dictate to you what you're going to do.
No, your point is well taken, and we're going to finish the conversation with this, and I know that your brother Tom is going to be joining me in a couple of minutes, and I'm going to bring this in. Canfield plays Poland. All right, now, obviously, here's one gleam of positivity with this, and this is only if coaches do it properly. You don't necessarily have to play your kids for 10 games. I mean, if you got some kids banged up in week number 8 and you know damn well you're going to go into the playoffs, you can sit that kid down and say, look, I need you healthy for the postseason, so we're going to sit you down this week. We got long-term goals ahead. However, and you know this as well as I do, Mike, if Canfield's playing Poland that week, and you got some kids that are, on the borderline, they're questionable. You want to beat Poland, and you want to have these kids play. I mean, you're not going to do that. It's not against a rival. So so that gleam is all gone now.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And again, if a kid is medically cleared to play for us, all right, through our training staff, through our team doctors, they're playing no matter what week it is. We're not looking at the playoffs. If they are not cleared, they're not playing. Because our Week 10 game now is Boardman. And there's nobody in our program that wants to be out against Boardman. If they're walking, they're probably going to play in that game. If they're medically cleared, they're playing. So people who say rest this and rest that, not when you're a competitor. When kids are competing, they want to win and they want to play and be a part of it. So I'm just not too sure I'm going to buy sitting people.
Hey, Coach, I know that you guys will be loaded again this year, and I'm not rushing summer because, I love my baseball, but I'm looking forward to the start of football season because I know Canfield's going to be all kinds of fun to watch.
Well, I hope so, Ron. We're working hard at it right now, but I appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you in the fall.
You got it, my brother. Always be safe. Mike Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Canfield Cardinals, and he wasn't happy. I don't blame him. I mean, the coaches spent 2 years with this stuff, and it seems like the OHSAA just took a look at it and said, "Oh, okay, well, we're not doing this. We're gonna do something else." I mean, at least have some conversation about it. All right, we'll catch up with the new head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, Tom Pavlansky, coming up in a bit. Stick around.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
If you're looking for a new Ford vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of new Ford models. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your new Ford. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their new Ford at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. I don't believe. That doggone phone line screwed up. All right, so hopefully we will hear from Tom Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs. We had him on hold, and for whatever reason, it didn't work. So hopefully he is going to be calling back, as we will hear from the new head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, Tom Pavlansky, momentarily, and we'll get his take on the decision by the OHSAA to expand the playoffs. And you know, as Mike Pavlansky mentioned, coaches aren't happy, mainly because the OHSAA really didn't communicate this very well. It seems like they didn't really look at the body of work that the Coaches Association did, and it would appear that they did not give the coaches a whole lot of respect in that terms. So, you know, again, I'm not a fan of the 16 teams, mainly because you're adding an extra week into the playoffs. Now, you know, again, there's a couple of things. You can, if you're a team that has struggled to make the postseason, you might be able to make the postseason. And who knows, maybe getting into the postseason, that's going to be the start of turning your program around. There are a few things that could potentially make this a decent idea. But I go back to the one thing that, frankly, I can't get behind this, and that is the fact that you're now going to be playing, if you appear in a state championship game, you will now be appearing in your 16th game of a season. And I cannot get behind that, simply because, and I'll go back to FBS football. Kids that move on from high school to FBS college football, the big boys, the Big Ten, the Southeastern Conference, the ACC, you know the drill, the big boys. They'll play 14 games max. 12-game regular season. If you're not good enough to go to the postseason, you'll play in a bowl game. That's game number 13. If you're one of the 4 teams fortunate enough to get into the playoffs, the semifinals are game 13. The national championship game is game number 14. 14 games. And you're asking kids that are older, their bodies are in much, much better shape, They're more developed, and you're asking them to play 2 less games than the folks that are playing high school football. That's just not right. It is absolutely not right in any way, shape, or form. It just is not right. Again, 12 teams. Okay, I can sort of get behind this, except again, if you're the 5 through 12 seed, you still got to play 16 games if you get to the state championship. So I can't get behind that either. It's a better idea. Now, the other flip side of that is, and we brought this up, if you're a top 4 seed in a 12-team playoff, if you're a top 4 seed, you're getting a bye. Well, who the hell wants a bye if you're on a roll? Who the hell wants the bye? Nobody's going to want the bye unless you're banged up and you need that break. Nobody's going to want that bye. That's not going to happen. So it was a slippery slope already, and I'm not a fan. Not a fan. I would have much rather seen another division and 8 teams per region and go from there. Obviously, you're not going to go back to 4 games or 4 teams per region, which is what the OHSAA did when they had 6 divisions. They took a step backward, or I should say they took a step forward. From 1980 to 1993, the state of Ohio went past the AAA, AA, and A that they had originally. And beginning in 1980, they went Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And each region had 2 teams from 1980 to 1993. So essentially you had 13 games if you won a state championship. You were regional championship game was round 1, state semifinals was round 2, and then the state title game was round 3. And through 1993, the high school teams played 13 games. In 1994, they went to 6 divisions. They went to 6 divisions, and because of the 6 divisions, they decided, you know what, teams are going to go to the postseason, and you'll have a regional semifinal, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. You'll have a regional championship game. You'll have a state semifinal, and you'll have a state championship game, and it's 14 games, and there you go. And let me tell you, in a perfect world, that would be my solution. Forget about 16, even forget about 8. I'd have the top 4 teams. But this isn't a decision that is based upon anything but money. Everyone's got to have everyone and everyone being the OHSAA, they got to have their share. They got to get their money. Which is the reason why in 1999, they said, hey, you know what? Let's go to 8 teams. Let's go to 8 teams. And it was still Division 6 from 99 to 2012. It was Division 6. So you had 24 regions, and you had 8 teams in the 24 regions go to the playoffs. So that's 192 teams. And from 1999 through 2012, that's how they did it. Then in 2013, they had a 7th division. 8 teams per region. An extra 32 teams went into the postseason. So you went from 190, beforehand it was 192. Now you're at 224. And from 2013 through 2019, 224 teams made the playoffs. Now, last year, and I give the OHSAA all the credit in the world. Last year, I thought it was brilliantly done by the OHSAA under the circumstances. This was a perfect scenario. 6-game regular season, and you're invited to the playoffs. If you decide not to go to the playoffs, well, you can play 4 games against teams that either aren't in the playoffs or got eliminated. And you can play up to 10 games. After the 10th game, that's it. Your season is over. Unless you're in the playoffs and you keep winning. Under the circumstances, it was a great decision. Given the fact that, we were in a really crappy situation, yeah, this is good. This is good. This is absolutely fantastic. And we can do this. Now, and I'll be honest, and I've probably said this too many times for it to, for it to have effect, but I'll say it again. This move yesterday doesn't make any sense, SENSE, but in Columbus, it damn sure makes sense, CENTS. It is a decision that I'm not happy with it. A lot of reasons why you're not happy with the decision. First and foremost, 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, 3 versus 14. You're gonna have a lot of blowouts. You thought you had blowouts in the quarterfinals? Wait till you see the round of 16. It's going to be disgusting. It's going to be blowout city. All right, to talk about that, we bring in the new head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, Tom Pavlansky. Coach, how are you today, sir?
Good, Ron. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. First and foremost, congratulations on getting the Poland job, and secondly, the Pavlansky family with Canfield and Poland playing. I'm sure the week leading up to that game, you and Mike are going to have a lot of fun with that rivalry.
Well, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Appreciate the well wishes. That week 1 contest is much bigger than anybody coaching it. That's for sure. Because it's Poland Canfield, and my brother and I are privileged to be a part of it and to be able to compete against each other. But we know, we're not. Our last name certainly isn't making any tackles or doing anything like that. So it's going to be about the kids, about the communities, and we're looking forward to it.
All right, let's talk about a decision made by the OHSAA that they believe was about the kids. I kind of find it hard to believe. You're expanding the playoffs from 8 teams to 16 teams in each region. Coach, I brought this up moments before you called in. I have a lot of concerns about the expansion, the biggest of which is, look, we saw a lot of mercy rule games in the quarterfinals in each region. I can only imagine the amount of mercy rule games we're going to be seeing in the round of 16.
There's a definite concern there. I think if you do research, last 5 years, looking at, if the 1 seed would play the 16 seed in each region, you would see some scores there that would be concerning, to say the least. For example, in 2019, I know that there was a 1 seed and a 16 seed that played in week 4, and the score was 74-0. So who knows what would happen then week 11. But anyways, as the association, the Coaches Association, we studied over 2 years about playoff expansion, and we thought there was validity to expand the playoffs and moving to 12 teams. We proposed that last January of 2020, and then in March of 2020, before the pandemic hit, they approved it to go forward for this school year, for this season, 2021. And I know the Coaches Association put forth a statement last night that we are tremendously disappointed that it wasn't carried through, and moving to 16-team playoff. Without any consultation, without any discussion on part of the coaches, it's just really disappointing.
Coach, let me ask you, and we're speaking with the new head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, Tom Pavlansky, and obviously when we had the pandemic in 2020, everyone gets into the state playoffs, and I'm sure that the OHSAA was very keenly aware of the amount of buys that were given to coaches in the first round of each of the playoffs. Do you think that the fact that a lot of coaches weren't too happy with their buys in the first round of last year's playoffs, do you think that had anything to do with the OHSAA saying, well, I mean, the coaches didn't like their buys, why don't we just get rid of the buys and just expand this to 16 teams?
I'm not sure what exactly the OHSAA thought process was there. I wish they would have discussed that with the Coaches Association. I know in their decision to let everybody in last year, that was not discussed amongst the coaches at all. From the OHSAA, even though they told us that we would have a seat at the table. So again, I know last year, obviously, challenging time for everyone involved. And there was really no best answer. Just going back to, wish they would have talked with us as an association, then we could have got feedback in terms of the buys and that. We know that over 60% of our coaches wanted or approved a 12-team playoff format, because before we made that proposal, we did a survey amongst our coaches, and they were in favor of a 12-team playoff, knowing that 4 teams would get a bye the first round. So, again, it all goes back to, again, just disappointed that the association did not hold true to their word and what their vote was last spring.
Coach, was that poll taken by the coaches throughout the state or throughout this area?
No, the state.
All right.
It was done throughout the state.
Yeah, duly noted then. Tom Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Biggest gripe that I have with this, and I'll say this, you're talking about 15 to 18-year-old kids. If you get to a state championship game, you're talking about these kids playing 16 games in a very rough and very physical game. In the biggest stage of college football, FBS, those kids and they're young men who are far more developed than the high school kids, they are only playing 14 games. It just doesn't make any sense for high school kids who are less developed. They're going to be playing 2 more very physical games in a very physically demanding sport than the kids that are in the top stage of college football. Coach, it doesn't make any sense.
There's some definite, it's a legitimate argument, Ron. We've got to hope that the coaches, the principals, the athletic directors, the superintendents are all on the same page, that they're all working together within each school district, again, for the best interest of their student athletes playing the game of football. And, you would hope that the association as well would realize that too, because, I'm talking with Tiger Laverde from Kirtland, who is no stranger to the postseason and success in the postseason. The one thing that he kept on emphasizing in our conversations was that, hey, that 15-week season, that's a long season. That's a grind. That's a grind. And so no doubt, that's a legitimate concern.
Tom Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. And Tom, you know this as well as me. Look, I'm a guy that loves when teams schedule up, and I loved when you did it in Lakeview. And you're taking that away, essentially. A team, can play in the NE8. You have your league in the NE8, which is rugged enough. but you don't necessarily have to play anybody of strength or anyone that's really, really good in your non-conference games, because the top 16 teams in your region are going to make the playoffs. Hell, 4 wins will get you into the postseason, so you don't really have to play a really large non-conference schedule. You could play 3 cupcakes, win 2 or 3 games in your league, and you're in the postseason.
Well, I would say like that it could be the other way around too, though, Ron. In that, that might encourage teams to play more competitive games earlier on in the season, or depending on if you're involved in a conference or if you're not in a conference. The challenge, to get more competition on the schedule, which could may benefit you for the playoffs, and we're knowing that, hey, if we win 4 or 5 games, yeah, we can still get in. So I think there's 2 sides to that argument.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I would hope that more coaches would side with your argument, because I would love to see the attitude of, wait a second, okay, I can win 5 games, but if I schedule up and I'm winning 5 games, I'm getting into the tournament whether I win 5 games or not. I'm going to still get into the tournament, so why not schedule up and get my kids ready for the postseason, no matter where I am, 1 through 16?
Yeah, that's I think that's a legitimate point. I think one of the things, though, that the state has shown some hints towards doing as well is having a strength of schedule component be part of the Harbin ratings. And if they go that direction, then that can definitely impact scheduling as well.
Yeah, and I think that would be that would make the computer system that much better. And I don't even know if there is a possibility to make the computer poll that much better, because it's a pretty good poll as it is. I think we're the envy of a lot of states across America with how we have our teams go into the playoffs, because I honestly believe the computer ranking is the number one way to determine teams to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there in terms of being the envy of many states across America. I mean, Ohio high school should be really proud of our product and what we do, and understand that our coach association is at the forefront of that.
Tom Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, joining me. You're not going to be leaving the moniker Bulldogs, but you are going from Lakeview to Poland. Let's talk a little bit about the off season. How have the kids responded in this tail end? Hopefully, God willing, the tail end of COVID. How are the kids responding in the off season weightlifting program, Coach?
You know what? Obviously being here just for about 2 months now officially, I really believe our kids. Well, first off, kids are resilient. I mean, they are resilient. They bounce back faster than most of the population, and I think our kids here at Poland are no different than the majority. They've been working hard. We as a staff are again in the process of getting to know them better and better each day. And like I said, our kids are resilient. They've been working hard. And, but we got to make sure we understand, hey, we're still in a pandemic here. We're still in a pandemic. We still got to take care of all those little things about washing our hands, wearing a mask, and all those good things that have been advised to us by the CDC and the health departments and all that. Because until everybody's vaccinated, it's going to be part of our life. And the sooner we get used to that, the better off we're going to be. But like I said, I'm really proud of our kids and how hard they've worked the last couple of months and how receptive they've been to us and a new staff. And like I said, we just can't. We're excited about today and getting after it today in the weight room and getting to be better.
Coach, I knock on wood as I say this, assuming, of course, we have a full capacity from day one. I guess the one positive in the field of 16 is the fact that if you're a top 8 seed and you win your first round playoff game, you will get a second home game. And for a lot of kids, especially the seniors, 5 home games in a 10-game season. But if you add 2 more home games, 2 more opportunities for the kids to play in front of the stadium that they've grown up with, the stadium that they've called home for the last 4 years, there is some sentimental value toward that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any opportunity that kids get to play at home, play in their home stadium, especially in the postseason, I mean, that's always special. That is always special. And, again, because high school football, high school athletics, it's all about, building those memories, things that kids want to remember 20 years from now when they're at a picnic with their kids and so forth and former teammates. They're going to remember those times.
Tom Pavlansky, before we let you go, a little history lesson, and I'm sure you already know this. In 1999, this was the first year that the OHSAA decided to go to 8 teams, and in that 1999 season, Paul Julia led the Poland Bulldogs to a 15-0 season, the first team in the state of Ohio to finish 15-0 in the newly conformed 15-game season. Fast forward to 2021. I guess looking at this, Coach, you could very well make the same history if your team were to go, say, 16-0 and win a state championship.
You know what, Ron? It's always good to have dreams and that, but if we want to accomplish anything, we got to make sure we take care of today. And that's our focus right now. So, but I appreciate you mentioning the '99 team. A lot of great memories there. And the first team in state history to go 15-0 was the Poland Bulldogs, Coach Julia.
Congratulations on the new job, and I know week 1 is going to be pretty entertaining to say the least. And I look forward to the chess match on the football field between the Pavlansky brothers. And congratulations, and look forward to seeing you real soon, Coach.
Hey, thanks, Ron. Take care. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Tom Pavlansky, the head football coach of the Poland Bulldogs, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. And while we were talking, boy, did Oakland listen to some of what I had to say? Damn. They just hit our starting pitcher pretty tough. Colin Floyd in the first inning, 3 runs, 4 hits allowed. Golden Grizzlies meaning business in the top of the first inning. They lead YSU 3-0 in the bottom half of inning number 1. That game can be heard on ysnlive.com. Just click on YSU baseball, and you can hear the tones of one Mr. Ritchie, and he will guide you through the first game of the doubleheader between YSU and Oakland. And I made mention, look, I mean, I make no bones about this. I mean, if you're Youngstown State and you're taking on a team that's in last place in the Horizon League, you got to make a statement. You gotta say, listen, you're not getting into the top 4, and you're damn sure not going to get hot on our dime. We're going to take care of that. And Youngstown State, as we made mention, coming into today, keep in mind, top 4 teams go to the playoffs. Top 4 teams in this league will go to the playoffs. Right now, as it stands, the Penguins are 2 games in back of, or I should say 2 games ahead of Northern Kentucky. And now it's 2.5, as Northern Kentucky has already played game 1 of their 4-game series with Wright State. And they were blown out by Wright State 12-1. So Northern Kentucky is currently 11-14. Wright State, who hadn't played baseball in a couple of weeks, that 2 weeks off didn't really do anything in terms of slowing their offense down, that's for sure. Wright State moves to 14-3 on the campaign. And let's be honest here. Let's be real honest. Wright State's not finishing in the bottom 3. It's not going to happen. Wright State is going to be finishing in the top 4. So you're essentially looking at 3 spots, 6 teams. 3 teams are going to be denied a spot. And if you're Youngstown State, you're in 4th place. Now, Youngstown State can get to 2nd place this weekend. What they need to do is sweep Oakland and have UIC beat Milwaukee 3 out of 4. If that were to happen, Youngstown State is in 2nd place going into next week's games. But YSU, make no mistake about this, Youngstown State needs to put it to Oakland. Oakland right now is 3-13. Oakland is 2 back in the loss column, but they're 6 back in reality. The last thing Youngstown State needs is to have Oakland take a series against these guys. That would be a disaster for the Penguins. Then still a lot of baseball to be played today. I mean, it's just there's a lot of baseball to be played, but I'm stunned that Oakland jumps out to a 3-0 lead from the get-go. Colin Floyd making his 10th start of this season, and Oakland jumps on him for 3 runs on 4 hits in the top half of inning number 1. Yikes. All right, we'll take a timeout, be back with more. It's a Friday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Your first and last stop with your tax return should be with me, Tracy Bryden at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. No other dealer goes the extra mile to bring you the largest selection of vehicles at one convenient location. With guaranteed credit approval, I will find you the right vehicle and the right financing options for you. I am ready to go the extra mile to show you why no other dealer sells more cars, finances more, and gets you more for your refund than Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we go the extra mile for you.
By finding you the right vehicle at the right price.
By giving you confidence in your vehicle with a Greenwood Advantage warranty.
By guaranteeing you financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
And by being with you for every mile of your journey.
Now, we're going the extra mile for you with an additional $1,500 on your trade, plus the best selection of new and used vehicles in the area.
Visit greenwoodchevrolet.com and tell us how we can go the extra mile for you.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Dana Balish, who has a great relationship with the Ohio High School Athletic Association, our 21 sports director, had a request for a comment on the Ohio Football Coaches Association statement on Thursday, in which they proclaim that the expanded playoffs were financially motivated. Well, 21 Sports did get a statement back via the email from the Ohio High School Athletic Association, and here it is, and I'll read it verbatim. The OHSAA has appreciated the input from the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association regarding playoff expansion, and we understand that the OHSFCA leadership was not in favor of expanding to 16 qualifying schools per region. However, the OHSAA Board of Directors and the OHSAA staff felt strongly about giving playoff opportunities to more schools, which was evidenced in 2020 when every school had the opportunity to enter the playoffs. While the OHSFCA was in favor of expanding to 12 teams per region that included a bye for the top 4 seeds, the message we received last year was overwhelmingly positive on giving more schools a postseason opportunity, which is how every other OHSAA sport has been conducted for decades. While the increase in football playoff games could result in more revenue for our schools and the OHSAA, which is used to support all 26 OHSAA-sanctioned sports, the decision was not based solely on financial reasons. In fact, increasing revenues is not even a certainty since state capacity limits may still be in place next fall and/or spectators may not necessarily feel comfortable returning to support their teams in person. That is the statement from the Ohio High School Athletic Association, which was emailed to 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. And our many, many thanks to Dana and our brethren over at TV21 as they have provided that information. And interesting. Very interesting, and obviously the two sides are in a disagreement in that a lot of the coaches that we've spoken to today believe that it's watered down, and a lot of folks in the OHSAA believe, well, wait a second, we're actually doing some pretty good things here. Look, I'm not big on the 16-team playoff, just not at all. Then again, I wasn't big on the 12-team playoff either. I would have rather kept it at 8. However, it is what it is, and hopefully, we'll be able to keep the kids healthy, which is the most important aspect of it. All right, we're going to take a final timeout, update the YSU score. They trail against Oakland at Eastwood Field. We'll get to that. Stick around. Final portion of the program coming up momentarily.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
This is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your pre-owned vehicle and much more. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their pre-owned vehicle at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back as we close up shop on this Friday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Many, many thanks to Sean Guerrero from Springfield, TJ Parker from Fitch, Matt Olmore from Lisbon, Mike Pavlansky from Canfield, Tom Pavlansky from Poland for checking in today and offering their opinions on the announcement made yesterday by the OHSAA to expand the playoffs from 8 to 16 teams in each region. All right, before we get out of here, bottom of the third inning at Eastwood Field, game one of a doubleheader. Oakland leading the Penguins 3-1. Steve DeSanio with a RBI sac fly in the bottom of the second. Oakland still leading Youngstown 3-1 in the bottom of the third inning. Richie Giuliano has the game for you on ysnlive.com. DJ and the boys coming up next with Power Hour. Make it a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you Monday, noon to 3, Running Point.